Death is certain, yet most people live as if they are never going to die. They run after ambitions, build their empires, and enjoy pleasure with no care for the one certainty awaiting them there. But the wise do not shun death, they look it in the face. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, faced death every day, not in fear, but in reverence. To him, death was not an enemy, but a teacher. It stripped away illusions, exposed the triviality of human desires, and revealed what truly mattered. His most profound lesson on death is not comforting. It is harsh, unflinching, and absolute. This lesson forces us to see the reality as it is, beyond the comforting lies we tell ourselves. It forces us to shed distractions and come face to face with the truth we spend our lives avoiding. If you dare to listen to this lesson, it will be the one changing your life. Will you take the dare? The illusion of permanence. Humans live with the assumption that time is endless. They wait for a future they believe is going to be there, thereby delaying what's really important. They pursue wealth, status, and comfort with the assumption that they have the time to indulge in them. But time is the one thing slipping away with every breath. The illusion of permanence is the greatest deception of all. Marcus Aurelius saw right through this lie. To him, life was nothing but a brief moment of time, a mere spark in the expanse of eternity. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Every second squandered in trifling amusement was a second lost forever. To ignore death is to waste life. The man who believes he has countless tomorrows puts off his purpose, his virtue, his calling. But the man who remembers death lives in the present fully. He does not wait to be wise, to be courageous, to be great. He acts now. The moment you accept that your time is running out, you begin to live. Death as the ultimate equalizer. No crown can protect a king from the grave. No amount of wealth can buy an extra breath. No power can command time to stop. Death comes for all. Emperors and slaves, warriors and cowards, the remembered and the forgotten. In the end, the earth swallows them alike, and history moves on without them. Marcus Aurelius understood this very well. He saw the bodies of past kings and generals, philosophers reduced to dust, and their names lost to history. He wrote, "Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, and were both reduced to the same state. Status, ambition, and wealth, none of it mattered when death arrived. This truth is to awaken, not to depress. If it is true that all distinctions end with death, then why bother with things that disappear? If all this power and material wealth dissolves into nothing, why not prioritize what's truly worthwhile: wisdom, virtue, and integrity? The man who knows that death is neutral stops living for the appreciation of others. He no longer hankers for imaginary titles or transitory pleasures. Instead, he retires inwards and masters himself, so that when death comes, he receives it without any inconvenience, only satisfaction for a life worthwhile. The fear of death. A mental imprisonment. Most people live their lives bound by an invisible chain, a fear of death. It is the thing that controls their choices and fuels their anxieties. They cling to the illusions of control, and they keep dodging risks and chasing security, piling on trivial comforts, desperate to forget the inevitable. But it comes. In the end, death comes, and all that their fear ever accomplished has been to take away life. Marcus Aurelius did not accept such weakness. He realized that fearing death was like fearing the setting sun. He wrote, "Do not behave as if you are destined to live forever. Everything changes, disappears, and is gone. Death is neither good nor bad, it simply is. To resist it is to fight nature itself. The moment you accept death, fear loses its grip. You stop delaying what matters. You stop seeking validation. You stop living cautiously and start living fully. Accepting death is not surrender, it is liberation. It allows you to walk through life with clarity, unshaken by loss, indifferent to petty concerns. The Stoic does not wish for a longer life, only for a life well spent. And when the final moment arrives, he welcomes it, not with terror, but with peace. Memento mori, the power of daily remembrance. Memento mori, remember that you will die. This Stoic practice is not a call to despair, but a call to living life with intention. And one's acknowledgement of their mortality leads to understanding and meaning. We no longer take life for granted and start really and truly living each moment. Marcus Aurelius made this practice the cornerstone of his daily life. He wasn't waiting for a crisis to remind him of death. He met it every day. In his meditations, he constantly reminded himself of life's impermanence, making him hone the focus and increase his resolve more and more. You could leave life right now. Let that decide what you do and say and think. In a way, that awareness of death gave him the strength not to be weighed down by mere trifles that usually distract, to focus more on what counts, which was virtue, wisdom, and peace. Today we do not make it a practice. Modern society distracts us with entertainment, comfort, and endless pursuits of pleasure. We hide from death as if by ignoring it we can escape it, but in doing so, we rob ourselves of the power that comes from confronting our mortality. We waste time chasing what is fleeting instead of truly living in the present. We remember death, and so we stop wasting life. We start acting for a purpose. The time to live is short only if we let ourselves understand our mortality. Only by embracing the inevitability of death can we learn to truly live. Living with death in mind. To live with death in mind is not to live in fear, but in profound clarity. The realization that life is short and uncertain frees you from wasting time on the trivials. Every moment becomes something precious. Those petty diversions of life, the constant pursuit of fleeting pleasures, the wasted anxieties about things that lie outside of your control, lose their hold on you. You live to the full, in harmony with what really matters. He was a man of deep awareness, living daily with it. He once said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Marcus Aurelius believed that knowing about death's absolute certainty does not have to provoke fear, but rather it gives focus. The fact that death is an inherent part of life means it's not interruptive, and thus one should only recognize that in order to live for purpose. Do not waste time on what is not in your power, he reminded himself, highlighting for us again where our minds always should focus. First on our deeds, on our thoughts, and on our virtues. How can we apply this to our lives? First, confront the reality of death each day. Take a few moments every morning to reflect on the brevity of life. Ask yourself, if today were your last, would you regret anything? Would you waste time on the trivial? Let this reflection guide your choices. Be detached from things, from people, or from the outcome. Learn to focus on what truly lasts, your character, your wisdom, your integrity. Living with death in mind means living with purpose. It's the key to a life of fulfillment and tranquility. The problem is not with death, but with living without sight. There are too many of us, drifting through our lives, turning away from our mortality, frittering precious time on stuff that doesn't matter. What Marcus Aurelius teaches us here is to wake up, confront the reality of death, but not in dread, but rather in clarity and purpose. Will you continue living in the illusion of never-ending tomorrows, or will you find the strength of living for now? Will you let the consciousness of death help to guide you toward a life of virtue, wisdom, and fulfillment? Time is running out. Subscribe to more Stoic insight. Every moment counts. Make it matter.